Hello everybody and welcome to our second Design Insider webinar. Design Insider is an online magazine which brings you the latest news and trends in the contract furnishings sector. And we're connected with BCFA, the British Contract Furnishings Association, who facilitate opportunities for our members, providing knowledge, skills development and inspiration. Today, we have a really fantastic opportunity to speak with Ron Swidler, Chief Innovation Officer at the Gettys Group. Ron has a passion for pioneering ideas and new approaches in hospitality design. Ron is in charge of the branding group, where he directs the planning, design, and strategic thinking for projects ranging from boutique properties, large-scale events, and international hotels. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Alice.
So perhaps we could begin our conversation with you telling me and our audience a little bit more about the work the Gettys Group does.
Sure, thank you so much. And let me start by saying thank you to you, Alice, and to Design Insider for giving us an opportunity to participate in your webinar forum. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, so the Gettys Group is a family of companies, actually. We've been around for over 30 years. We've been helping developers and operators and brands through providing interior design, branding, procurement, and development. And you know, right now we're grateful that we are fully staffed and fully engaged in a number of projects, over 50 projects right now, 4 of which are actually hotel development projects that we have underway. So I'm grateful to my team members and to the hospitality industry and our clients for allowing us to continue to be active right now. But I do want to acknowledge, of course, the hardships of our realities out there. These are very challenging times for everyone, and I just want to acknowledge that this is difficult for many. I don't mean to imply that everything is rosy. It certainly is not, and we are trying to overcome so many of these challenges that we're facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely, and is one of the things that you've seen the industry coming together?
Yeah, you know, we look for the positive signs out there. I'm a positive person. I think we have a positive attitude in our company, and we are looking for those things that are inspirational, and gratefully there are many. The hospitality industry, as you know, is an industry with heart. And, you know, it is often ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. In today's world, there are many that need help. And so we're seeing lots of great things happening. We're seeing hotels offering up their rooms to those who are in need, whether they're first responders, people on the front line, doctors, nurses, paramedics, frontline medical staff, et cetera. And we're also seeing the rooms being made available to people that need to quarantine, because you know, many people, unfortunately, they're limited with the amount of space that they have, and they need to isolate themselves. So I don't know if you've seen the news, but recently Hilton and American Express have teamed up, and they partnered and committed to over 1 million guest rooms between April 13th and the end of May, making those available. And those are paid for by Hilton or American Express, in some cases being donated by individual hotel owners. So we're definitely seeing hotels being generous in trying to care for those who are most in need right now. We're also seeing, interestingly, that lenders and borrowers are being a bit more forgiving as you know, the landscape has changed economically. So many of the hotels around the world have been closed. And so we're seeing a sense of community coming together, and a bit of a wait and see attitude, but some forgiveness, which we're very grateful for that kind of attitude. We're also seeing forums like this being a way for the industry to come together. So we thank you for creating a forum like this for us to exchange ideas. As a good friend of mine said recently, that, you know, there's this irony about, while we are physically further apart, we seem to be even closer together and more connected than ever. So gratefully, yes, the industry is coming together in many, many ways, Alice.
So in turn then, has the global crisis sparked hotel innovation?
Yeah, well, we're seeing all kinds of examples of how hotels are having to retrofit themselves right now to accommodate some of these people who are in need of quarantine, or first responders needing a place to rest. And I saw a really interesting set of drawings that were developed by the US Army Corps of Engineers about what it actually takes to convert hotels over to hospital-like environments. And it was far more extensive than I had actually thought about. It goes beyond cleanability of surfaces, but there are lots of ways in which I think design may change hotels in the future. It may be the materials that are being used in terms of their cleanability. For example, one of the guidelines from the US Army Corps suggested that carpet in a guest room would be unacceptable because it just is too difficult to clean and maintain. So they were looking for hotels that had hard surface flooring like luxury vinyl tile. But we're also seeing some other interesting things. The Westin Houston Medical Center, as a matter of fact, is testing robots that are used in hospitals to sanitize hotel guest rooms. So we may see all kinds of innovation around operations, service, cleaning standards, materials, and maybe integration of technology as well. Think about the touchless kind of interaction that can operate things in a hotel room, voice activated, controls, et cetera, motion activated. All of those things may end up leading to a further integration as people are a bit more concerned about touching surfaces that other people have touched.
So what do you think it will take for guests to really feel confident to return to these hotels?
Well, that's a tough one, Alice. I think the obvious answer is we have to get this pandemic behind us, right? So, as the world begins to open up and people feel more confident traveling for business, and people get back to work, and then I think there's necessity is really going to start to drive some of this. But we need a level of confidence that the hotels have done what they can to abide by the CDC and WHO guidelines and try to maintain cleanability standards. I read recently of a hotel that is guaranteeing that no one has occupied a guest room for the last 14 nights. And that's one way that someone might have a confidence that there's no chance of contamination. But, I think that guests might prioritize booking in hotels where the team members and the hotels have supported their local communities, which look, this is, I think hotels are being more forthcoming than ever before in publishing what they are doing, not just in abiding by cleanability standards, but what they're doing to help their neighboring communities. And I'd like to think that travelers may choose to prioritize where they stay based upon the level of support and wholeheartedness of those hotels. We do see some signs of encouragement here, by the way, about going back to hotels. We've seen some cancellations in some of our hotels, for example, where meetings were scheduled for the second quarter. And rather than canceling those meetings, they're rebooking them for the third and the fourth quarter. So that tells us that people are eager to get back to business. They are eager to get back to feeling confident going to hotels. And hopefully it won't be too long before they are in fact traveling again for both business and leisure, by the way. And on the leisure side, there's an interesting pattern too. And we're seeing people eager to travel to places of wide open spaces. So you're seeing hotels with green space around take advanced bookings. You're seeing a little bit of a lead on the leisure side over the business side. But in both cases, I think people are going to be eager to go back out and travel again. I think it's in our nature, not just because it's our industry.
And so are there innovations that other industries have put in place to make people feel safe that might apply to the hospitality sector?
Well, yeah, and on the near term, we're seeing lots of companies introducing cleanliness standards and sanitation standards. Just this week, it was actually the workers who were standing up and saying, we need more protection if you expect us to work. And Places like Amazon is doing temperature checks and face masks being distributed nationwide, and other online companies like Instacart, Target, Walmart, they're promising face masks and gloves to all their employees. So there's certain kind of standards that we say, okay, well, this is something that we can do easily enough in hotels. But we're also seeing restaurants remaining, the standalone restaurants and restaurants in hotels, changing the way that they're operating, but trying desperately to stay in business. And even if it's only for takeaway, there are just small things. I was picking up some food last week, and there was a box of gloves sitting outside of the restaurant where I had to put on a pair of gloves to even touch the door handle going into the restaurant. So we're seeing lots of things at grocery stores, for example, all over the world in order to help with social distancing. There's plastic screens being installed, separating, guests or consumers from workers. I was talking to one of my colleagues about the maximum occupancy signs in restaurants that are set up as a result of fire safety standards. So there's a maximum number of occupants, but perhaps there's going to be an addition to those signs that says there's maximum occupancy during times of social distancing, so people can abide by some of that. So we do see lots of examples of other industries taking safety measures into account and trying to see what works. And that's encouraging too. A friend of mine who's a doctor who's set up a clinic specific for COVID positive people has been talking to me about what they're testing and what they're finding effective in terms of means of communicating and serving their patients. And I think we're going to learn a lot from doctors and other industries. And thankfully, they're sharing some of those insights so we can begin to apply them to the hotel industry.
Absolutely. And do you think some of those measures are here to stay?
I think some of them will be. We are talking about the merits of checking people's temperatures when they walk to a construction site, for example. It's a safety measure that we have on our hotels that are under construction right now. Part of it is the psychological side of it, to say we care about who's entering the site. So I think the things that may stay are the things that tell people that hotels do care, whatever those signs end up being. I'm not sure where they're going to end up, but some will likely end up staying, yeah.
So you must have seen some of your renovation projects being put on hold during this time. When do you foresee those projects being able to be picked back up again?
Yeah, well, the good news is that we are actually seeing some clients who are eager to take advantage of this slower occupancy period to renovate their hotels. We have a couple proposals that we're just finalizing right now, and these are both hotels that said, during this low occupancy period, let's move ahead with some of these renovations. But the reality is that the way the hotel industry measures its performance is revenue per occupied room. And, we're down 50%, RevPAR is down 50% over last year, projected 37% total for this year, 37% occupancy industry-wide in the year 2020. So we know that financially things are going to be very challenging. And as a result, I think there's a bit of a wait and see. So when you say that things have come to a halt, they have, because people are trying to determine, of course, many hotels have closed, and it's a question of when they'll reopen. Just a couple other anecdotes as it relates to the hospitality industry. The major hotel companies who have their franchisees out there concerned about spending their capital dollars that they had been allocating for upcoming renovations. The hotel companies are saying, hey, you can use those, they're called FF&E reserves. You can use those FF&E reserves to pay down your debt service on the hotels instead of allocating 3, 5, sometimes even up to 8% of top line revenues. So you're seeing hotel companies saying you don't have to renovate this year. And if it was required to do what's called a property improvement plan in year 2020, we're going to allow you to defer to 2021. So we're going to see some renovations get put off. What's likely to happen is it means that there's going to be that much more renovation work next year. for everyone who is deferring this year. And like I said, gratefully, there are people who are interested in using this opportunity. I will point to China as an interesting reference point. You know, there's some positive news there. Over 85% of the hotels in China have reopened already, okay. Which is certainly encouraging. They measure their economic indicator through something called PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index, and they're tracking their recovery is already a V-shaped recovery. So they're already in an expanding economy. They've recovered from the last from the dip in business as a result of the coronavirus, and they're actually coming back strong. So, and as you see, Wuhan province has just recently reopened, and so people are actually moving in and out of the city. So, encouraging that perhaps the U.S. Hospitality industry can recover quickly, and some of those renovations we talked about will be activated even sooner than anticipated.
So the work you're doing with your clients at the moment, you're doing from home. So how is your team adjusted to your new workplace?
Remarkably well. I have to say that we weren't expecting everyone to get quite so comfortable with things like Zoom meetings, but yet it's working. And there's a lot of great collaboration tools. Technology is allowing us to share screens, share information, present the information effectively, record presentations, and share those out. There's voice to text capabilities that are allowing us to issue meeting notes based upon just recording the audio from these meetings. And so, as I said earlier about this communications pattern, somehow we are apart, but we are closer together. The same is true among the colleagues at the Gettys Group as well. We remain in constant contact. Sorry, that wasn't a pitch for constant contact, but we do remain regularly connected with everybody internally and externally. And I'm really encouraged, actually. I think that this may lead to some changes about the frequency that people do have to commute to the office or spend time together. And it may change some of the patterns of how frequently we need to take airplanes to get face-to-face with clients, knowing that everyone is going to be that much more comfortable with these tools.
And do you think that post-crisis, the hospitality sector will be able to adapt to this more digital world?
I think they have to. I think the answer is yes. Alys, after the economic downturn of 2008, 9, and 10, there were a lot of efficiencies that the hospitality industry embraced in order to just be as lean as possible. And we're likely to follow that same pattern here. So it is more efficient to rely upon digital tools. Efficiency is going to be that much more valuable. So I think design-wise, look, we use a lot of virtual and digital tools in our company. We've been using them for visualization really effectively. And I think we're going to continue to do this. I mean, with virtual reality right now, which we use on a limited basis, but we can invite our clients into a model with us with just their laptop. So if we have a model built, we can bring people in for design review and approval. We have a couple projects right now that are under construction where the model rooms are being built, and the hotel companies have said, you know what, keep going and we'll review the model rooms virtually with just a FaceTime video camera to look at what's there. So I think we are going to see more technology being embraced and more digital kind of design being embraced going forward.
So we were very lucky, and we had one question before our webinar today from one of our attendees, and he would like to ask, where, in your professional opinion, do we go post-COVID-19 economic global recession in hospitality?
Oh, well, thank you for giving us such a difficult question, whoever that was. I don't know where we're going to end up after this pandemic subsides. My crystal ball is only as good as everybody else's, but we're hopeful that this Chinese V-shaped recovery might be an indicator for us, and that we might enjoy that same kind of rebound. But look, the reality is that there are going to be some hotels that are over leveraged, right? They've just borrowed too much money. The debt service is too great. They may not make it through this difficult time. There could be consolidation, hotel owners that own portfolio hotels that are prioritizing one hotel in one market that's less affected than another. So we're likely to see some hotels changing hands, hotels that just haven't been able to make it through these difficult times. Now, what does that mean? It means, look, when hotels change hands, it does typically lead to renovations. And that's part of the requirement in order to show a refreshed kind of look and feel to the marketplace. So that could be good for us. And the other thing is, we look at what happened in the most recent, financial downturn in the 2008, 9, 10, and there were some really smart decisions that were made where people became even more kind of diligent in the decisions that they were making, the money that they were borrowing, the plans that they were executing against. So I think that this could lead to some really good insights and some really good decisions going forward.
So you touched on this a little bit earlier on, but in what ways have hotels been getting involved in the pandemic efforts?
There's some amazing examples out there of people doing wonderful things. I know you're talking to me from outside of London. There's a partnership, for example, Hotel Solutions Partnership, which is a global hotel advisory group, and they're doing free downloadable coronavirus crisis guides. And they're also donating 500 hours of complimentary consulting services to hoteliers who need professional advice on how to get through this pandemic. So you're seeing consultants saying, please let us help you. You're seeing the American Hotel Lodging Association, which is the organization that's kind of working with the US government around policies. And they've got a commitment for 2.3 million hotel rooms right now across 15,000 hotel properties to house emergency healthcare workers. And those primarily are located proximate to hospital and healthcare facilities. So it's really impressive. Actually, we have a couple hotels that we co-developed in the city of Chicago that we've turned over to the city of Chicago for occupancy for those at-risk individuals who need to be quarantined or those first responders. So it's a small thing that we're doing in order to try to help out, but the hotel industry is really doing what they can to try to make a difference.
Absolutely. So what is the hospitality's social responsibility? Does this impact design and how we move as a community? What more can be done?
Yeah, there's always more. There's always more. There are more people in need. There are people in need of jobs. There are people in need of basic necessities, food and cleaning supplies, and even toilet paper and sanitizers. So there are heartwarming stories. There's a story that former President Barack Obama just tweeted out yesterday about a 7-year-old in Virginia who this enterprising young kid decided to gather supplies from hotels and distribute them to medical professionals and frontline healthcare workers, and it's all those little stories, right? So maybe the hotels have supplies they can donate, maybe it's expertise, but it's really helping in their local community, like this young 7-year-old who is helping out. It's asking what might we do in order to make the situation a little bit better, and every little bit makes a difference. I know it's a small thing, but anything that hotels can do, or people that work for hotel companies or ownership or design firms, all of those little things make a difference, because there are just so many people in need right now.
Absolutely. So the last question that we've got today, Ron, is about the think tank that the Gettys Group created, the Hotel of Tomorrow,
Yeah.
which was really to consider the future of our industry. And I just wondered, did you foresee any of this?
I told you that my crystal ball wasn't that great. Look, if you weren't a science fiction writer or working for the CDC or WHO, I don't know how you saw this coming. I will say that we did have some medical professionals involved in the Hotel of Tomorrow, and they were forecasting some pretty dramatic things that hotels might be able to do in order to act more like hospitals going forward. I wouldn't have predicted, by the way, there was an article in The Guardian last week that there are London hotels who are being asked to be labor and delivery rooms right now for pregnant mothers, and there's some pretty incredible things going on about there. But the Hotel of Tomorrow project was made up of hotel owners and operators, architects, designers, consultants, a lot of manufacturers who are thinking about the future of their products as well, and some futurists. And what we did predict that came to pass was the merging of hospitality and healthcare. We did think that there was going to be a need for hotels to be able to function as facilities to support those who might not want to go to a hospital. Think about the advances we've seen in remote monitoring right now, and the number of things that you can do to provide kind of contact-free services, open portal communication, even like this, automatic and automated and robotic things, security services, and even this idea of remote surgery, which is actually happening. But we did predict a lot of integration of technology, of the need for a higher level of service and care, the opportunity for hotels to act more like hospitals, to provide services and isolation if necessary. But we didn't see that it was going to be a requirement and necessity for the health and safety of our entire population around the world. So yeah, I think there were a lot of great things that came out of what we called the HOT project, Hotel of Tomorrow. But and I still believe that there's plenty of room for us to continue to look to the future, and hopefully that future is a bright one for us all. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Ron, for joining me today, and for all the people that have attended this webinar. Our next webinar for Design Insider will be next Wednesday, the 15th of April at 4 p.m. British Summer Time. Everybody that has attended will be sent an email shortly with some articles that I thought you might be interested over on Design Insider, so you can go and have a closer look. But until we see everybody next week, please everybody take care. And just in a moment, there will be a slide with some information on how you can keep in touch with the Gettys Group and Design Insider. So hang on for a minute and you'll be able to see that information. Thank you so much, Ron.
I just wanted to say thank you so much to you and to Rita Bancroft at Design Insider, and our many friends out there in the hotel industry and colleagues who are just doing everything they can to try to make the situation as short-lived as possible and as comfortable as possible, and to make as big of a difference as they can in our industry and elsewhere. So a big thank you from me and from the Gettys Group, and be safe, be clean, and thank you again, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.